Yo, what is up guys? Red Stagg here. In today's video I have a bit of an announcement that I'm not very proud of. I have stalked Senpai something on Twitch for hours. Seriously, I have sat through hours and hours and hours of SenpaiSomethings dev stream. Why, I hear you ask? To give you all the information that I could possibly find on what's going to change in Season 2 of Project Diablo 2. And sorry Senpai, I know it's a secret, but you know, I'm just summarizing everything you've already told us anyway. And to be honest, making this video has made me realize how much is going to change in Season 2 and how exciting it is. And I'm sure it will do the same for any of the viewers, and building up that hype can only be a good thing, right? So, I'm sorry, and you're welcome. Like, seriously, you were not wrong when you said Season 2 is going to be absolutely fire. As a Diablo 2 player, even I'm looking forward to playing it. That was a quote. Season 2 looks so good. In this video, we're talking season start date, character balance changes, endgame content changes, PvP changes, miscellaneous changes, what's unlikely to change, and so on. And as you can tell from me getting out of breath, we have a lot to get through. So I'll not waste any more time on the introduction. Let's get into it. Season 2, what we know so far. See you after the intro. So guys, to make things easier for you, I'm going to have chapters for you to navigate to parts that are of more interest to you. However, I do advise that you watch the entire thing the whole way through. This way you'll get a good overall flavor of what we can expect to see in Season 2. And especially stay around for the ending. You'll see why with what Senpai said. Also, so much work has gone into making this for you. We've got the hours alone on trawling through the stream and finding the comments. And then we have the hours on top of that of videoing and editing and making sure I'm not missing anything out. So I really appreciate your support if you can hit the like and subscribe button. I'm unpaid for this, and your positive feedback and your support is what keeps me going. And don't forget, we can make Diablo great again. Anyway, now that's out the way, let's get into the first section of changes. When is Season 2? Now, this is one of the most commonly asked questions in SenpaiSomethings streams. I would know because I've watched them all, and what we can gather so far is Season 2 will be early to mid-March. However, there's always no promises because it's entirely a voluntary project and depends on the schedules of their developers. He has, however, mentioned that the earliest time will be the first Friday of March. This means the 5th of March. But could be delayed into the middle of March as well. Again, no promises. But we do expect to see Season 2, you know, by middle of March. There will also be a closed beta, and halfway through the closed beta for the new season, he will release the patch notes. Now, if you want to get involved in the closed beta, wait until the end of the video where I talk about supporting Senpai, and there you can find out how you can get involved there. This all means we will still get a proper look at the changes before we all dive in. Now, on to Section 2. Character balance changes. There have been numerous times that Senpai has mentioned various character balance changes. Generally, he is very happy with the power creep that happens in Diablo, which is how quickly people become strong. However, there are some things that he has mentioned that he would like to tweak. For example, he has mentioned that support paladins are a little bit too strong. This means we're likely to see a nerf to their support skills such as Holy Bolt, as well as their resist auras, which he's also mentioned seem a little bit too strong on the Oradins. This overall means that these are likely to be fine-tuned to come in line with the rest of the characters. Now, please note, you die-hard Paladin fans, he has also strongly stated that he is not heavy-handed with nerfing, so I do expect these characters to still be viable in Season 2. Moving on to sorceresses. He has mentioned that enchant is a little bit too strong. Although not delving into too much detail about how this might be changed, it was a good indicator that this could be seeing a nerf next patch. On the topic of the sorceress, there has been several occasions where Senpai has also mentioned that Meteor will be getting some love. This will take it more in line with the other fire skills such as Combust, and so we can expect to see some buffs for Meteor, which is great. There was also in one of the streams a mentioning from Senpai about how the Boazon seems to scale a little bit too hard. This does imply that there might be some nerfs to the Boazon, although we're not exactly sure how yet. However, he also mentioned that they might be looking at adding other multi-shot variants that maybe have less arrows but increased damage, so that multi-shot Boazons aren't just pressing one skill the entire time. Senpai also mentioned that Strafe could theoretically become this, but that was a very quick comment. I'm not sure what to think of that. It could be that we're in for a smaller radius, less arrows, higher damage multi-shot instead of Strafe. I don't know. Additionally to Boazons, he has mentioned that fire and ice arrows seem a little bit lackluster. This does imply that we are maybe going to see some buffs to this next patch, which will make other forms of the Boazon more viable. And additionally, for us Boazons, he will be looking at giving crossbows some love to make them some more viable compared to bows. Although we're not 100% sure how that's going to work yet either. But a welcome change nonetheless. Either way, it does sound like a lot of very welcome changes for you avid Boazon players. That's good news. I'm a Boazon player. Now, for the druids out there, there was mention that Oak Sage should be getting some sort of buff, although details were left to a minimum. And additionally, they will be looking at buffing Fireclaw. Now, Senpai said that he had hoped to have done a rework for Season 1, but never got round to it, and so you still have the original Fireclaw in Vanilla, and this should change for Season 2. Good. Now, for you Barbarian players, Senpai mentioned that there's already a dev working on buffing Whirlwind, and additionally to that, they will be looking, not sure if in Season 2, but certainly in the future, to be able to use Grim Ward on undead monsters. Another welcome change for Barbarians. And now for you Necromancers, you'll be happy to hear that on community request, Dark Pact will be getting a buff, even though Senpai didn't really feel it was needed. So, good job community. Now on to the Assassin. The Assassin is quite a bigger topic. They're really looking at reworking martial arts entirely. Martial arts never got any sort of rework for Season 1, although they wanted to, they never had the time for it. They now really have worked towards that and hope to see more martial arts assassins in Season 2, which will be super cool. Additionally to martial arts assassins, the Fire Trap Assassin will also be getting a kind of indirect buff by making the Fire Mastery from the Triangle set to be applied to your fire traps. So that's nice. Maybe we'll see some interesting new fire builds. And additionally, someone had picked up that Light Sentry couldn't be spawned on claws anymore, and that should also be fixed. Now, that's all the data that I could gather for characters so far. However, I do want to close out this section with 2 honorable mentions. You know, because mercenaries are also kind of characters. You get the idea. Act 3 mercs will be buffed in the future. Whether this is really in Season 2 or not, I don't know. This was something that they wanted to do in Season 1, but never had the time. So maybe we could look to see that really implemented in Season 2. And then additionally for Act 1 mercenaries, they should actually be able to hold Amazon bows right now, but for some reason isn't allowed, and they hope that that's also fixed by Season 2 or in the future. And that fully covers it for character and mercenary changes. Let's move on to the next section. Endgame content changes. On several occasions, Senpai has expressed that Season 2 is really about driving and improving and balancing the end game. And the primary way that he's going to be doing that is by implementing more maps. This I originally thought would be in the form of maybe Tier 4 and Tier 5 maps, but it seems as though it was indicated in the stream that in fact we'll have multiple Tier 1 maps, multiple Tier 2 maps, and multiple Tier 3 maps with no mention of an additional tier. I mean, we can already see that there's going to be some maps added from the community. He's mentioned that there was some that was meant for Season 1 that never got added, that will be added, and that there will also be new ones for Season 2. So seriously, there's going to be a lot of new maps. Senpai has even showed one of the maps he's been working on himself that's preliminarily called Ariete Battlefield, and is likely to be one of the new maps that we can see in Season 2. On the topic of maps, map drops are to be adjusted. It's felt that they were a little bit too frequently dropping, and additionally the EXP, especially in, for example, a T3 player 8 map, is to be toned down a little. This overall is to make way for a new group team-based map kind of thing that is currently referred to as a dungeon. Now, from what I could gather, dungeons will be primarily tuned for group play, where you would need to cover roles like support healers and tanks and damage dealers, etc. to best optimize clearing these. These also won't be sustainable like maps in the sense that you can't just keep running and running and running them, and will be tuned for maximum experience, which is why normal mapping has the experience tuned down a little. But do not fear if you do not have a group. Senpai has also stated that dungeons will not be mandatory, in the sense there won't be any extra special drops in dungeons that you're going to miss out on if you don't have a group to run them, and that the total drops will be something similar to maps anyway, and really they're tuned for experience, so don't worry about it. You can choose to do them if you want, but it's not necessary. Oh, and a final point on maps is Senpai had also mentioned, when asked about if they can remove succubus switches, because we all know they're a pain in the ass, that instead of removing them, that perhaps he'll look at incentivizing people to do them, perhaps by adding extra modifiers, you know, magic find or something if you get succubus switches. I personally still wouldn't do them, but I think that's a nice idea and quite a good route to go down. Now, other content changes that don't involve maps are they're looking at reworking crafting a little bit in Season 2. They want to make crafting a more viable way of getting good items, which sounds like they're probably going to buff the mods or in some ways make crafting more valuable to players. You know, suddenly those perfect gems and those low runes become worth a lot more. God damn it. Other notable content changes is that they are looking at balancing corrupting a little bit more. Overall, Senpai had said the team were very happy with how corrupting has played out, and was very vague on what changes there might be, but we are expecting some changes to the corruption system based on what he had mentioned. And on a final note with content changes, is Senpai has mentioned that he wants to make Zod and Cham more relevant runes in the game. Although no details were discussed about how this is going to happen, it does look like we can see the value of these increasing through some means, which, to be honest, I'm happy about. I found so many Chams and they were worth absolutely nothing, and it really annoyed me. But that covers the bulk of the new content changes. These will certainly help making the end game content more enjoyable to grind in the longer term, and something I really look forward to. So let's get on to the next section. PvP changes. Now, this was a very common question asked in SenpaiSomethings stream and often discussed. It's definitely something that Senpai has mentioned he wants to push further in the future. However, at the moment he's lacking data. What was suggested then, that there's going to be a flat damage reduction in Season 2, possibly some PvP events, and then towards Season 3 and Season 4 really pushing PvP more with individual skill modifiers for PvP. For example, what this means is Guided Arrow maybe gets 10% damage, another skill only deals 50% damage in PvP, and overall will create a more balanced PvP area so that you can play any character fairly. Another idea that popped up into his head in one of the streams, or maybe is something he was thinking about a lot, is maybe having a PvP realm where they can take softcore and hardcore characters together, put them into a realm which is softcore, and have PvP tournaments there. Perhaps, you know, at the end of the season once everyone's been at max, or I don't know. Details were very few, but it was definitely something that he sounded very interested and enthusiastic about doing if it was possible and if there was interest, which is super cool. I will note, however, this is not likely to happen in Season 2. It does appear that we're going to have a flat damage reduction for PvP in Season 2, with the outlook of gathering data and fine-tuning for individual skills in the future. And that about covers it for PvP, so let's get on to the next section. Other miscellaneous changes and bug fixes. So here we talk about, some changes that I couldn't really fit into any of the other sections, but still important for you to know. Senpai had mentioned that there's maybe a possibility to toggle an on-off helm feature. Maybe if you don't want to be seen with an entire green face and shackle, you can just turn it off. Although no plans for a transmogrification feature where you can make it look different, it could be possible that we can turn it on and off. Although details were kind of kept to a minimum, and this was in response to a viewer's question. So in that case, it's not 100% confirmed, but would be a cool feature. There was also mention of a lot of improving quality of life changes. Nothing specific, he didn't say a single piece of what the quality of life changes will be, but things off the top of my head I think they could be is, when you're shift clicking runes and gems and stackable items from stash to inventory and back again, that they stack on top of each other. That would be super nice. Same with the cube. But I'm sure there's going to be plenty of surprises on things, how he's really improved our quality of life in Diablo 2. Another nice miscellaneous change that we might see in Season 2 is that Senpai mentioned he wants to make large charms more viable. At the moment, no details on how they'll do this, but would be a super welcome change to the usual skillers and small charms. At a minimum, at least make a really nice large charm beat 2 small charms in the slot that you have your torch and 2 free spaces. I don't know. Additionally, it looks like we might be getting shorter time to perm games. Currently, the wait time is 5 minutes to perm your game if you're self-muling. It's possible that this is reduced a bit, as Senpai had mentioned a couple of times. And additionally, it could be possible to toggle friend has left or joined XX game, so you're not constantly spammed with server chat. Also, no need to worry about your ladder characters. They will all be moved to non-ladder as legacy characters. The problem they're having is at the moment in non-ladder you cannot gain experience, which means it's not a place where you're going to be starting new characters. However, it's still going to be a place where you have your characters and can do testing with the current changes of the season. Additionally, you Uber Tristers out there will be very happy to hear that the organ drop rate will be fixed. Currently there is a bug and they considered changing this through Season 1, however they decided against it for the fear of changing the economy surrounding torches. So we should expect better drop rates in organs, and also please don't forget you can use 3 of any organ type in the cube to open up Uber Tristram. It doesn't need to be one of each. Other changes include a possible limiting of filter size. This means in public games you won't be at a disadvantage if you don't have a filter where the burr rune takes up your whole page and they're guaranteed to click it wherever they press on their screen. This is a welcome improvement and offers more diversity in loot filters and means that we won't be at a disadvantage for those who have such a loot filter. A super welcome change. Additionally, Senpai has mentioned that ladders will not be less than 4 months. He personally felt that this was a good amount of time for the casual players to be able to enjoy endgame content, and for those more hardcore players to really max min and test various builds, which I completely agree with. 4 months seems right. And now that about covers it for miscellaneous changes, and let's get on to the next section. Unlikely to change. Yeah, really, this section is all about things that Senpai has pretty much definitely said that aren't going to change in Season 2. Also very useful information. Firstly, the name of Senpai's cat is Gary. It will not change in Season 2. I really stalked him, right? Also, the drop rate of Players 5 is very unlikely to change. There was mixed feedback in the community, and overall he said he's very happy with where it's at, so we can expect that still in Season 2. There was also a discussion about whether they should include auto gold pickup, but this was decided against because they didn't want, characters to walk around, automatically pick up gold. The loot filter filters it out and then gold just becomes a pedometer. This is not what it's for, and this is not what they want, and this will not be included in Season 2. Some quick things that definitely won't change. We will not see multiple stash pages in multiplayer. This has the technical complications as well as complications with potential duping. Enigma will not be buffed, Infinity and its interaction with immunities will remain the same, and stacking auras will not be removed. Additionally, runes will not be made downgradable for the impact that it has on the economy and how to deal with that, and there will never be a form of centralized currency such as forum gold, so you will always be trading with in-game items. On a final note of things that certainly won't change is that you won't be able to run continuous maps in one game. They always want the games to be refreshing on the server, so you will always have to create a new one to run your next map. And now on to the final and arguably most important section. Support Senpai. So after hearing all of these great things about Season 2, you want early access to the closed beta. Well, look no further. You can tell that there is a lot of work that goes into making this an amazing experience for all of us to enjoy. And as Senpai has mentioned multiple times, this is entirely a voluntary project that is currently funded in terms of server costs by donations and contributions from the community. He has, however, said that he would pay that out of his own pocket if it wasn't covered by the community. What a fucking great guy, right? So, if you are interested in supporting in any means possible, check him out on Twitch. Subscribe, share, tell your friends, go to his Patreon and sign up. Whatever you can afford to do, of course, helps, and I will leave links in the description below to how you can support the stream and to his Twitch and to his donate page on his website. Now, as I mentioned before, he is offering closed beta access to his Archangel and Primeval supporters on Patreon. As of right now, this comes with the cost of around €47.50 per month, €94.50 per month for Archangel and Primeval. And by paying this, I believe, or I'm led to believe through what he's mentioned in the stream, that you will get access to the closed beta of Season 2 before anyone else. So if you can afford it, it sounds really worth your while, especially if you're a content creator. Anyway, as I mentioned, I will leave a link to his Twitch and to his Patreon in the description below. And considering Senpai has also said, I quote this, "I will be poop socking to make sure Season 2 is ready," then I think the least we can do is support him in any way possible. Oh, by the way, poop socking is apparently when you don't get out of your chair and you just have a sock. I'll leave the rest to you. Now, I know this has been a long video. Thank you so much for making it to the end. I really hope you got some value from it, and please remember, if you did get any value from this, please hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you have, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate your support. It's what keeps me going and putting in the hours to make these videos for you. Also, I'm very curious to hear what you guys think of the new Season 2 changes that are potentially upcoming. So leave a comment with what you think about what I've discussed so far. If you think I've missed anything, if you think Senpai's maybe missing something, I'm very curious to hear what the feedback on the community about potential Season 2 is. And I look forward to collaborating and putting that data together with you. Now, from what I can gather so far, Season 2 will be freaking awesome. I'm super looking forward to enjoying that journey with you. So until then, until next time, Red Stag out. GG.